before splashing down off the coast of San Diego. That is scheduled for 5:07 p.m. Pacific time. The Navy will pick them up by helicopter, then deliver them to a nearby ship for assessment. Now, NASA is now closely watching the forecast because rain, strong winds, and big waves could be a problem. California meteorologist Chris Kuiper looks at what forecasters are expecting.
There are going to be a few showers up to the north towards Santa Barbara potentially, but down towards San Diego, it looks like it's going to be okay. And it's not going to be landing at a specific point. They have a general area here off of San Diego, so in case things look a little crazy in one spot, they can readjust it a little further south or north or wherever they happen to want to go and still be okay as far as the cloud cover and the winds and the waves. The winds, 10 to 15 miles an hour. They generally need winds, sustained winds under 28 miles an hour, so we should be well okay with the winds. And the waves, they need waves under 6 feet. We should be good with that as well. About 3 to 4 feet as far as the steady waves out there off the coast of San Diego, in from San Clemente Island and in that area. Remember, the Artemis 1 spacecraft landed down towards Guadalupe Island, well off of the coast of Baja there. So again, there's a little range where they can land. Now, what can you see? If you're going to be in Southern California, you're going to be looking for this. Can you see it? Yes, if the climate weather permits. This is video I shot here last summer of the SpaceX Dragon capsule returning home from interior California, streaking across the sky that one night here in the summertime. Remember, the astronauts got stranded up at the space station and they had to wait on the space station a little while longer. This is them returning back to Earth in that space capsule there. The Artemis 2 is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be moving quicker. It's going to be a faster return, and it's not going to be a steady light. See how this is a steady light? It's going to kind of pulse at times, and so it might get really bright out there, and then it might kind of dim down a little bit as well. And it might also hear a few sonic booms down there in Southern California. I grew up in Santa Barbara, and back in the 80s, we could hear the space shuttle returning home to land at Edwards Air Force Base, and we could hear the sonic booms from that occasionally. You might hear that this afternoon when Artemis 2 returns home to Earth about 5:07.
And getting the Orion spacecraft back on Earth is a dangerous mission, one that requires everything to go just right. Reed Binion shows us what will happen.
I have a whole checklist in my head. The drogues have to come out, the main chutes have to deploy, the reefing systems have to cut, separation between the service module and the crew module, the heat shield that has to work.
The Artemis 2 crew must complete perhaps the most daunting milestone of the journey, re-entry, piercing the thick inner band of Earth's atmosphere at incredible speeds and temperatures.
Inside the vehicle, the spacecraft systems, it's a nice 75 degrees, so kind of like a winter day in Houston.
During re-entry outside the spacecraft, much, much hotter, roughly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, about a half as hot as the surface of the sun. The capsule racing in at nearly 25,000 miles per hour, decelerating at a rate of nearly 4 times the force of gravity.
It's not so much 13 minutes, it's more in my head about an hour and a half of things that have to go right.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
And Colorado State University released its first forecast for the upcoming 2026 hurricane season. As Florida meteorologist Lauren Oleski shows us, they expect this year to be slightly below average.
They're calling for a slightly below average season with 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. That's category 3 or greater. On average, we see 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. So the main reason for this slightly below average season, El Nino. We're right now in a weak La Nina, but we're expected to make that transition into an El Nino before a really strong to moderate El Nino develops during the peak of the hurricane season. When El Nino is in place, we tend to see a much stronger subtropical high in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, preventing hurricane development. And we see a lot more wind shear in that portion of the globe as well. So these are all good things for us, bad for hurricanes. Also, they're looking at sea surface temperatures and seeing that they're a little bit cooler in the eastern and central Atlantic right now. You need warm sea surface temperatures in order to see hurricanes develop. We're not complaining about this, but don't focus so much on the numbers because it only takes one season or one storm to make it a bad season for you. Here's our name list for the year. The first name on the list is Arthur and then Bertha. Remember, hurricane season starts on June 1st and goes until November 30th.
As Lauren said, the biggest factor in forecasting this year's hurricane season is the expected arrival of El Nino. Meteorologist Emily Gracie asked Colorado State's Dr. Phil Klotzbach how certain he is El Nino will be strong this year.
A stronger El Nino that comes on faster is probably going to have more of an impact, and it's really due to changes in that vertical wind shear, so that change in wind speed and direction with height in the atmosphere. Too much shear is good for us but bad for the hurricane, so kind of remains to be seen exactly when this El Nino comes on, how fast it comes on, and then kind of what impacts it has on that vertical wind shear. You know, there is still some uncertainty because right now we've had a pretty strong winds blowing across the Pacific that are helping to transport warm water from the Western Pacific towards the Eastern Pacific, which is really what kicks off an El Nino. But do those strong winds persist? Do those dissipate? It still kind of remains to be seen. If those were, say, to weaken substantially, potentially even flip back to more robust winds blowing out of the east, what we call the trade winds, that could potentially cause the El Nino to not be as strong.
Colorado State will update its forecast several times throughout the season. The first one is June 10th. All schools and state offices will be closed today on Oahu as another storm bears down on Hawaii. Heavy rain and strong gust winds are in the forecast. The National Guard is helping distribute standbags. You can see it there to island residents. The storm comes just weeks after back-to-back storms caused devastating flooding. Damage was estimated at $1 billion. And over on the Big Island, the fountain of lava flowing out of the Kilauea volcano ended overnight. This latest episode lasted nearly 9 hours. At one point, the fountain was around 800 feet high. Steady winds blew volcanic ash and rocks into a nearby community. This was the 44th eruption since December of 2024. A late season winter storm could drop feet of snow in California and Sierra Nevada mountains. A winter storm warning is posted from tonight through Sunday night. The highest peaks could get 4 feet of snow. Snow could also accumulate at lower elevations, while the valleys will see heavy rain and also some thunderstorms. Helene was a monster hurricane that caused catastrophic damage along its path. Debris from the storm has now turned into fuel for wildfires, increasing the risk across western North Carolina. Gracie Palmer reports.
So this is what they call fuel. This is down wood, down timber, Hurricane Helene debris.
Fuel for the wildfires burning in our area.
Yeah, this would be a similar image of what it's like at the fire.
The North Carolina Forest Service says they estimate that over 800,000 acres of forest land was damaged by Helene just in the western part of the state. And since it's been decaying, creating a recipe for wildfires that isn't going away anytime soon.
Probably for the next 10, if not 20 years, this is going to be the new norm for western North Carolina anytime they hit a dry patch.
In an attempt to reduce our risk, the U.S. Forest Service allows for permit-free firewood collection.
You can only collect firewood on open roads, 100 feet to either side, and it also has to be a dead and downed tree.
The program was expanded into 2026 with the hope of cleaning up storm debris. But that's still only a drop in the bucket.
On a typical spring fire season, a fire might go 10 to 50 acres, and we're seeing fires go 100.
And the debris is not just fueling the fires, it's also making it harder to fight them.
We're having a tougher time getting to these fires. In some cases, we are quite literally having to cut through that same storm debris in order to make a pathway.
Well, emperor penguins and Antarctic fur seals have been declared endangered species. The International Union for Conservation of Nature says climate change is pushing these numbers closer to extinction. The group says the penguins' numbers are plummeting as sea ice breaks up and melts. They need the ice to breed, live, and hunt. The seals are struggling to find food as rising ocean temperatures push their main food source to greater ocean depths. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, flowers are blooming and the weather is getting warmer. But we'll tell you why it just might not yet be time to start jumping into those local lakes and ponds.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. The temperatures are warming up a little bit in the Northeast today. Most towns will top out in the 60s and 70s. There'll be parts of northern New England that will stay in the 50s, though. There's a front that's working its way into our region from the west. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's getting into New York and approaching the Adirondacks. Most of the Northeast will keep a fair amount of sun today. This is associated with a cold front. It will bring some showers through most of New England. Tonight, we'll clear it out on Saturday. It's cooler and windy to start the weekend.
meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the mid-Atlantic region. We start with a nice and dry forecast. Some showers are possible as a cold front moves across the region. They'll become a little more scattered overnight. Most of that rain will taper by Saturday morning. Temperatures will rise to the 50s, 60s, and 70s for a nice afternoon. Then as we head into the night, temperatures will drop down to the 30s, 40s, and 50s across the region.
I'm meteorologist Lauren Oleski with a look at your forecast across the southeast. Temperatures right around the low 80s across the majority of the region for Friday afternoon. Parts of the Carolinas, highs only in the 70s. Skies mostly clear with a good bit of sunshine to start Friday morning. There's a front moving across the middle of the country. A few showers could move along coastal Florida, but the majority of the southeast is dry and clear through Friday afternoon and into the evening.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Rainbows usually appear after rain showers or storms, like this double bow photographed in the South Bend area about a week or so ago. But rainbows show up whenever conditions are right, with water droplets from rain or a fire hose, and sunlight filtered through the droplets into its spectrum of colors.
For more content like this, subscribe to the National Weather Desk's YouTube channel.
Well, spring is here, flowers are blooming, and some trees are getting their leaves again. The thought of heading out on your favorite waterway with a canoe or kayak sounds tempting, but temperatures might be dangerously cold. Meteorologist Ryan Munn tells us how to stay safe if you end up in the water.
Even the most experienced swimmers can find themselves in serious trouble early in the season.
You gotta realize that it takes, weeks to months for the water to kind of catch up to where the air temperature is. So it's kind of deceiving to most people, they fall in and they just can't save themselves.
Experts say cold water shock will occur immediately. Wearing a life jacket will keep you afloat and can be the difference between life and death.
If you have a life jacket on, if you don't panic, get through that first 30 seconds of being in it, and then you have to kind of assess yourself. Can I get the boat flipped back over? If not, you have to get to the shoreline.
If you make it past the initial shock, the threat doesn't end there.
Physically, your muscles start to cramp up and you start to shut down, and you'll drown because of that if you can't rescue yourself. And that usually happens within 5 minutes. If you're wearing a life jacket, you can get through those first two immediate threats. And then your third one is hypothermia. And hypothermia is when your body gets below 95 degrees.
That will typically occur within 30 minutes of being in the water. It is vital to protect yourself as much as possible.
I will tell you, last spring between Maine and New Hampshire, we had 4 people who died in April and May none of them wearing a life jacket.
In Wisconsin, spring means fishing, and their general sport fishing season begins in less than a month. Eric Peterson spoke with anglers who said this year's fishing season should be a good one.
Inside this Swamp Donkey bait and tackle portable shop, Neil Swaney says he's ready for May 2nd.
Opening day is usually a pretty good day. It's fun to get out and start going to different lakes, and generally it's fun.
Before hitting the water, DNR Fisheries Management Bureau Director Justine Haz says there are regulation changes. The muskie season will open statewide on May 2nd.
In the early 1980s, there was around 66,000 muskies being harvested a year. That's down into the hundreds. There's been a very big change in how anglers view muskie, how they fish for muskie. The safe handling of muskie when they're caught. There's a very large catch and release ethic with muskie fishing.
The statewide inland trout season opened early on April 4th. A catch and release season for lake sturgeon will occur on 18 select waters across the state, not including the Lake Winnebago system. There will be new panfish rules as well.
We still have 25 panfish bag limits, but some of them may have a very specific species 5 bag limit. So for example, 25 panfish could be taken, but no more than 5 bluegill.
Back on this section of the Fox River, Neil Swaney expects good fishing will get even better.
You got your big perch out in the bay, you got your big walleye out in the bay, you got your big muskies, the crappie come in, the white bass are in, so it's great around here for fishermen, fishing people, I should say.
Well, spring is also severe weather season, and that means more lightning. And new research on lightning is underway. Meteorologist Emily Gracie spoke with a lightning expert about some of the new information that's being gathered.
Lightning is actually evidence that there's ice in a cloud. There's other things that are going on in there, like liquid water finding itself below freezing, so we call that supercooled liquid water. And then the ice particles just basically crash into each other because it's so turbulent in a thunderstorm, and they create charges. So the little ice crystals go up to the top of the cloud, the big ice crystals go to the bottom. And then that's how you get your charge separation. You know, nature doesn't like differences from, 2 points like that. So the lightning kind of balances everything out.
Over the past few years, you've made these discoveries when it comes to longest lightning strikes. What does longest mean? Are we talking about time duration? Are we talking about length across land?
So time is one thing. There's a record for longest duration. So as the lightning kind of traces a path across the sky, it's just sitting there illuminated for several seconds. And I believe that one is 17 seconds, and that was set in South America. Extent is the actual aerial distance of the lightning bolt. The first one was within what's called a lightning mapping array network, which is a bunch of sensors that just listen for the little pops of electric pulses that come from lightning. And then the optical detectors will sit there and take a picture of the entire lightning flash as long as their field of view is wide enough. So that's what we have on satellites now. So the very first one, it was around 200 miles. And then the second one was closer to 400. And then the one after that was the one I was part of, which happened from southwest of Houston to just west of Mobile, Alabama. So that one was the third longest extent. And then the brand new one that we actually went back in the data for 2017, that one stretches from just south of Dallas to just east of Kansas City, Missouri. So that's the current longest one now.
And if you want to learn more about lightning, be sure to listen to this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. You can find it anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And 20 years ago, parts of Tennessee were hit with a deadly tornado outbreak. Nashville meteorologist Brett Luna takes a look back.
April 7th of 2006. It's been 20 years ago now. 8 tornadoes and a devastating tornado outbreak. Here's how it all unfolded. 11:49 a.m. Tornado number 1 touches down. It's an F0 tornado that tears through Humphreys and Houston counties. Tornado number 2, less than 30 minutes later, it's an F3 tornado that tears through Dixon and Cheatham counties. It destroys 25 homes and leaves debris scattered for hundreds of yards. The third tornado of the day touches down at 12:49 p.m. It's an F2 tornado. It stays on the ground for 18 miles, destroying homes. 1:06 p.m. tornado number 4, the deadliest strike. An F3 tornado tears through Goodlettsville, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. This tornado almost 900 yards wide and on the ground for 23 miles. More than 700 buildings are damaged or destroyed as 7 people die and 128 are injured. Less than 40 minutes later, tornado number 5, a brief F0 right here in Lewis County. Minimal damage with it, but the outbreak's not over. Tornado number 6, 2 more lives lost and a mobile home. An F1 tornado hits Cannon and Warren counties, leaving a path of destruction 15 miles long. Number 7 touches down in Cumberland County. More than 180 homes destroyed. Millions of dollars in damage. 4 people are injured. The final tornado of this event was an F1 that hits Coffee and Warren counties. Another life lost. Homes and buildings take heavy damage. In just hours, 8 tornadoes, 10 lives lost, and almost $400 million in damage. Preparedness saves more lives. It's just so important to stay weather aware, especially down here in the South this time of year.
As we head to break, we take in views over Montana.
Well, a very good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Cold front moving its way across the Midwest today, pushing some rain into the lower Midwest and also into the Ohio Valley. By tomorrow, we've got some thunderstorms starting to try to fire up there across the central Midwest, and we're going to see more of these showers and storms firing up. Matter of fact, the potential of some severe weather across the central Midwest as we head into next week for us.
Well, good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with a few showers and thunderstorm parts of South Texas. And through the day, you can see we'll cook up another batch of some scattered showers or storms. The risk for strong to severe storms will be up there in parts of North Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Saturday's forecast, again, a chance for showers and storms. And note the temperatures, 70s and 80s. As we head into Saturday night, some of those storms could be severe in Texas.
Hi, everybody. I'm Theron Zahn with a look at the forecast for the western United States. A big change as an area of low pressure approaches the west coast, bringing some showers to northern California and as far north as Seattle. And take a look what happens after that temperature-wise. 78 in Salt Lake City, 71 for Boise, and some cooler temperatures for Reno, 73 in Portland, and only 70 in Seattle, 70 for Spokane as well. That's the scene from out here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Hummingbird time is on the way. Depending on where you live, some may be showing up already. Meteorologist Hannah Sheehy explains.
These tiny birds spend their winters in Central America or Mexico when they have abundant resources to fuel up their journey north. They will actually bulk up before migrating to ensure they can make the stretch across the Gulf. Hummingbirds can travel up to 23 miles per day otherwise, flapping their wings an astonishing 15 to 80 times per second, and their hearts can actually beat over 1,200 times per minute. Let's take a look at where hummingbirds have been sighted so far this year. They are typically sighted in the southern U.S. as early as late January or early February. The most northern sighting so far this year has been in Chatham, New Jersey on April 6th when it was sunny and 53 degrees. Last year, the first hummingbird sighting reported to hummingbirdcentral.com in Portland was on April 28th. As temperatures continue to rise, it'll be time to put out those feeders. If you make your own nectar, boil 1 part sugar to 1 part water and change the nectar every 2 to 3 days, or sooner if it's hot outside. Clean the feeder weekly to rid any bugs and hang multiple feeders in partial shade. Follow those steps to ensure you see hummingbirds in your yard this year.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Friday. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you right back here on Monday.